I want to give my stated program for Baylor women's soccer since the 2024 season is over. Baylor finished 8-8-5 on the year, 2-5-4 in the Big 12. They did win the Big 12 tournament game against Arizona 2-1. Then they lost the following game to Texas Tech 2-1. But I will say that second goal by Texas Tech was controversial, and I just think what the Texas Tech coach said at halftime in that game was a bunch of crap. Go back and listen to what he said. Of course they would be angry about that call that on that goal that occurred. Wouldn't you be angry, coach? If it was against you, whether it's not a goal or Baylor scored a goal, got a goal because of that, you would be angry. I know it. But that's besides the point here. They took a step in the right direction. And I ultimately thought just getting to the NCAA tournament was their ceiling. It didn't happen. They just didn't do enough in the conference slate. Non-con, they did enough. Maybe with the exception to tying with Texas State, they should have really won that game. They were up 2-1 late in that game, and they let it slip. But I really would say the Iowa State tie hurt the RPI the most. You cannot tie with a team that's low in it, close to the 200s in an RPI. That's what ultimately cost them, in my opinion. Besides the tie with BYU when you had a 3-1 lead. I mean, that and it ended up in a 3-3 tie. Win that game, win both in the Iowa State game and the Texas State game. I think your RPI would have been better off to make the NCAA tournament at least a little better shot. Of course, there were some 1-0 losses in conference play, like Oklahoma State at home and Arizona at home, that you probably want to get one of those back, possibly. At least we beat Arizona in the Big 12 tournament, but that was not enough. Just doing that, you had to beat them twice, and maybe you could have put yourselves in a better position for RPI wise in conference, like for the NCAA tournament, by winning more conference games. I cannot fault the TCU tie. That's the best team in the league, and I know they didn't win the Big 12 women's soccer tournament. I know because they lost to Kansas, and luckily Kansas beat Texas Tech for us. Shows them you don't win solely because of that controversial goal. And I know that first goal that Baylor gave up, they should not have allowed, period. I know. But you get the whole point about it. Colorado at time was ranked, but they didn't finish ranked. Maybe you want that game back. Maybe. I can't fault the Texas Tech loss the first time or the second time. The second time stung more, in my opinion. And obviously, like, there were really a few games that were. The West Virginia game was definitely a 2-0 loss, the way it turned out to be. I mean, it was like the middle portion of the game was the difference. Like, into the first half, West Virginia scored. Early in the second half, West Virginia scored again. I mean, that's just the deal. And Utah was mostly like a 1-0 game, if you look back on it, until the last 15 minutes. So they were really in that game. It's just, at the end of the day, you just got to convert more. And all this. Maybe beat TCU in hindsight would have helped, but you're asking me to beat a top 15 team? I don't know about that. I mean, Iowa, I can't say we should have won that game. I mean, yeah, it turned out to be 3-0, but it was really 1-0. But Iowa did not travel or even play a game on that Thursday before, like we did against SMU at SMU. So, what can I say? I can't say take that game back to be a win. You're telling me to beat Mississippi State at Mississippi State? Game number 1 against the top 20 opponent that actually was like one of the better teams this year in the country. I mean, they only lost 2 games all year, like in the SEC tournament and 1 game in the non-conference. That was it. That's all they lost in the regular season. And you're telling me to go game number 1 and beat them there at that place? If we didn't allow that goal with like the first 2.5 minutes of the year, that could have been a tie. Maybe that would have helped RPI. So, but that's calling it a stretch there. I'm not saying win against Mississippi State or even Iowa. Both those teams ranked. But maybe a tie against Mississippi State could have occurred, but I don't know. It's more like that Texas State game that was the stinger in the non-con. So, where does the team go from here? And this is pending transfer portal. Because you never know these days. They did honor 7 seniors, and Blythe Dolbar was one of them. But I've heard that she's coming back. So, and they did not honor Kai Hayes, by the way, as a senior. But she does have another year of eligibility because she missed a whole entire year at North Carolina 1 year. I mean, when you go back in her bio, because of an injury. So it definitely helps, and to have her back, potentially back, and let's just assume she is back. That would really possibly a starter, or either that or Teresa McCullough. But either way. And I know that Natalie Votter got hurt in like against Arizona, and that was not helpful going against Texas Tech the following game. And maybe finish better in conference, and you would not put yourself in that RPI bind of, oh, we have to win at least 2 games to think about making NCAAs. Yeah, that didn't happen. You got 1-1 though. But we took a step in the right direction though. But the biggest loss in my opinion is Ashley Maryland. You cannot deny that. Look at her stats. And I know Mercer Gray and Ava Kohlberg are big losses too as defenders. I get it, but we have capable defenders back for another year, like potentially like Natalie Votter. I mean, and Paisley Marbra, Blythe Dolbar. I mean, having players that are familiar with the system, we're going to have to wait and see what happens in the transfer portal. And some of those seniors that were honored, by the way, did not play. There's a reason. I mean, they're not as good as the other players we have on the team. They're just more like a leadership role, so to speak. So, and just like thinking about it here, they only lose like 3 for sure starters. You potentially return 8. And this is pending also Tyler Isrig does not turn pro. She is good enough to be a pro. I think she's going to be a pro soccer player one day. That is if she really wants to, but at the end of the day, I think she would want to do more for this program than just make the Big 12 tournaments back-to-back years. She wants to go to the NCAAs. And that ultimately will be the motivation going into the offseason. Get healthy, and we'll have to wait and see on the recruiting side of things. And they have not announced how many players for that class or anything like that. But you get the point here, and they're going to obviously fill in gaps through the transfer portal because they have to improve. They're probably going to try to improve in some areas from this year's team to next year and all this, and definitely helps to have Kai Hayes back. It makes me feel better. I mean, potentially back. It definitely makes me feel better to have depth there. And I know they got recruits. I get it. But having experience is bigger to me. You cannot pay a price for experience in games. And I know Paisley Marbra didn't. She played some, then she didn't play some, didn't play some. She's a true freshman, getting used to the system here, and this is her first fall. But I'm gonna keep tabs on the transfer portal stuff, whether it's losing or gaining. But I definitely think the program is headed in the right direction. I did not ultimately see like a Sweet 16 team out of this. Oh no, I did not. I saw mostly like round of 64, 32 if you're fortunate, depending on that matchup. But next year, I think that is the ceiling again. I don't know about Sweet 16 though. But it just all depends on the health, first of all, and the additions they're going to have. And all the production, like the additions they're going to have, whether it's through transfer portal or just freshmen. But I know it takes time to build a program, and I mean, year one didn't even make Big 12 tournament. Year two, they did. Last year they did. Now this year they did that and win a game in the Big 12 tournament. Now let's try to take that next step forward, and I'm sure they're going to be very motivated after the way they finished the year going into next year, starting in the spring. So that's all my thoughts here. Anyways, if you like this content, hit the like and subscribe button. See you guys later on the road to 7 subscribers. The ultimate goal is 1,000 more. Some money off this course. Like the video, comment video. It really helps YouTube algorithms. More people can see it. Sharing the video does help as well, as more people could watch. And if you're watching and not subscribed, hit subscribe button for the notification bell as well. And hopefully next year the conference slate would be a little bit easier too. It wouldn't hurt. I like to be challenged, but to help your RPI and everything. But you got to win more games. In order to win more games, in my opinion, you got to either improve or hopefully the conference slate is not as difficult as this one, because this one was one of the tougher ones in the Big 12. Let's be honest. Look at the standings and look who they played this year. I'm just telling the truth.